Hello everyone, my name is Vince Angeloni. Today we are here to talk about DualWrite party model and the global address book. With all my colleagues listed in the slide, we will present to you this module in this technical talk today. In the agenda, we have the following topics: introduction, business scenarios, data model, setup and the table maps, bootstrapping, demo, and last implementation scenario. What is Party and the Global Address Book? Party and GAB are finance and operation concept. We don't have this concept in Dataverse Dynamics 365 customer engagement. The global address book helps to understand the relationship among people and organizations that are associated with your organization. For example, we can have a customer that can be also a vendor in a marketing campaign, or for example, an employee in your organization could be also a vendor. A party in general is a person, contact, or an organization that is either internal or external to your organization. In F&O, each party has its own record in the application. So the overall idea is to have a single party representing person and organization in order to avoid duplicated in all these attributes. Why party model in Dataverse? The first is because we don't have this concept in Dataverse, as I already said. In particular, DualWrite provides a mechanism to integrate bidirectionally data between finance and operation apps and Dataverse Dynamics 365 apps. So, this module added to DualWrite platform can harmonize business processes between all the Dynamics 365 apps because using data integration mechanism provided by DualWrite, the data related to the party and global address book can be synchronized in Dataverse and vice versa. Party model so is a module to add this global address book concept in Dataverse. Party module is not only the party table. The package, includes updates on account, contact, vendor, and addresses, and also new tables like contact for party that we'll see during the technical talk. These updates and the new tables can unify data model between the two apps, finance and operation, and Dataverse Dynamics 365 apps. Now, let's move on to the next topic in the agenda for today: business processes scenario. I move the line to my next colleague, Arsh.
Thanks, Vince. My name is Harsh Birla. I work with Microsoft Fast Track team as Senior R&D Solutions Architect. Let's quickly talk about some of the business scenario that Party and Global Address Book solution can cater. So, as Vince mentioned, for FNO customers, Party and Global Address Book feature has been there for quite long period of time. With Party and Global Address Book dual write solution, we are bringing such capabilities for our Dataverse customer. The first scenario is where a person or an organization can play more than one role in a business, and he or she will need to switch roles based on the context. So, for an example, John is an employee of Microsoft US, and at the same time, John can log in into Microsoft US e-commerce portal and can purchase goods or software or hardware for personal use. Therefore, John, as a person, is an employee of Microsoft, but at the same time, John, as a person, is also a customer for Microsoft US. Similar situation can arise. For example, John builds games, and sells through e-commerce portal of Microsoft. Then he can be a vendor to Microsoft as well, right? So if you look at John as a person, right, have some of the attributes which are not going to be changed. For example, the name of a person or an organization, some of the contact information like email, phone, etc. Right, they don't change quite often. So that becomes a party. Plus, uh, and John as an employee can reside into can transact from an employee perspective, and then can transact from a customer or vendor perspective, right? Therefore, in FNO, what happens is John as a party will have a party ID, and as an employee, they will be recorded, for example, SCM worker table, which will associate to same party. And then as a customer, there will be record in custable that is associated to the same party, right? So party is same, party ID is same. However, it is associated to an employee, customer, or vendor, right? So it's pretty common scenario in global economy, and then in any of the organization. The next scenario where we are talking about, for example, you have a big customer can transact into many different legal entities, many different countries. From a customer perspective, the generic profile is same. For example, the first name of a person or the organization is same, some of the contact information is same. However, due to different countries, due to nature of business in different legal entities, they have different taxonomy, they have different payment terms, right? They transact on different set of financial profile, right? Therefore, you can consider a party with generic profile, which is my customer. However, in each legal entity it has different financial profile, right? And you can create sales orders for against these financials profile in each legal entity. Therefore, what we are providing is ability to have a separate generic profile for a specific for a person or an organization, and ability to store and retrieve as many addresses as possible for each type of transaction, right? You can have n number of addresses. And then you can have various financial profile that are referred as customer or vendors to transact against, right? There could be scenarios, for example, with the combination of customer becoming an organization. If, for example, if that organization has multiple location, and there are specific clients of that organization at different location, and the ability to address each option. So, for example, let's think of a hospital scenario with a doctor and patient. A doctor treats one or more patients at the same time. Each patient is also referred based on the doctor that they are assigned to. The doctor can log into hospital website, track patient records, and give them direction for prescription they need, as well as treatment for their individual needs. The doctor could be practicing at multiple locations, and each hospital may have multiple departments which operate in each of the multiple location. Right? Think about a scenario where a doctor can also get sick and become a patient himself. Right? So there are various key complexities from a end-to-end relationship perspective. So party model actually brings that parity. It provides ability to associate the contact with one or more customers without duplicating data and track customers' record based on the contact. It provides an ability to convert the contact to a customer, and provides an ability for the contact to log in into several portals and access customer records across all locations. So overall, all the scenarios, there can be various scenarios. For example, you if you have a customer uh, who that transact in 50 locations, for example, a gas station, right? It has different gas station across the country, and then you may want to actually bill to the original organization, to one billing address, but you may want to ship, right, to various different locations for the same organization. So you may have one single billing address, but you may have various shipping addresses, right? So there are various scenarios that you can uncover using party and global address book. Right. So just to summarize, all scenarios addressed in party and global book solutions are now in Dataverse. Overall, a customer can be represented as a person or an organization. The contact can have several addresses and financial profiles as well as generic profile. The customer can be associated with one or more contact associated with several pieces of information like a customer group, payment terms, etc. So, so with that, I'll hand it over to Corina for the next section. Thank you.
Hello everybody. Let's do a deep dive now into the entity data model in Dataverse after installing the party model and global address book solution. Before installing this solution in Dataverse, a contact could be associated with an account, that is, one account relates to zero to many contacts. Also, an account could be assigned a primary contact, but application logic prevented the same contact from being designated as the primary contact for more than one account. Therefore, this mapping does not support a many-to-many relationship between contacts and accounts. As part of the party model and global address book solution, we are introducing explicit properties for classification and allowing for this many-to-many relationship between a contact that is a person and an organization, account, or vendor entity. To achieve this, we are introducing the two new entities shown here, party and contact for party. At the contact for party level, we will be capturing the details of the association between a contact and an organization. When looking at the simplified data model, we can see a zero to many relationship between party and contact, party and account, and also at the center we are seeing the contact for party holding associations between these three entities. A party is a generalized representation of a person or an organization. A party is implemented as a supertype in FNO with subtypes person and organization. There is no similar structure in Dataverse where we have contacts and accounts representing persons and organizations respectively. That is before installing the party model and global address book solution. It's also important to clarify the concept of party roles. Certain entities represent roles that are performed by parties, with examples being worker, vendor, contact, or customer. For each contact and account created with the lookup party ID left empty, a party record will be generated. Looking at the contact entity, with this entity we are representing persons, including customers, those B2C customers. The attributes on the contact entity can be characterized as party related. So these are attributes of the contact as a person, for example, name, marital status, gender, birthday. These are the attributes that are kept in sync between the contact and the party record. Customer related attributes, so attributes of the contact as a customer, such as size, credit limit, aging summaries, and the contact for related entities. So these are the attributes of the contact as a contact for another party. For example, department, system name, employee ID. The taxonomy on the account is similar to that on the contact. We have two types of attributes, those party related attributes such as name and the customer related attributes. After installing the solution, there are still some tasks that we need to do in order to be able to access the party form, where we can view and create parties, also manage associated customers, vendors, contacts, and their postal and electronic addresses. What we need to do is open the app designer of the custom or the first party app, model driven application that we are customizing, and add in the artifacts the next entities: party, party electronic address, party postal address, vendor, and contact for party. We should also add in the sitemap the party entity, ideally next to the accounts and the contacts. The result of this will be that the party will be added to the sitemap and the quick create forms will be available for these selected entities. The result will be as shown here, the party entity added in the sitemap. As mentioned before, the party type can be person or organization. Depending on the party type, the fields are available, the various types of fields. Like for person, we have first name and last name. For organization, we have name. Once the party is created with a particular party type, that cannot be changed later on. We also have two table maps introduced, party and CDS parties on the FNO side. Once the party is created, we can use the tabs on the party form to manage it. The customer tab lets us to create one or more customers from the party for different companies. If the party type is person, we can create and manage customers of the person type. These customers are known as contacts. If the party type is organization, we can create and manage customers of the organization type. These customers are known as accounts. The vendors tab resembles the customer tab, but is used to create vendors of the person or organization type. Let's discuss next in more detail the process for creating customers and vendors of type person in Dataverse and see how these records land in FNO. Now, a customer of type person will be created from the contact table. There are two ways to do this. We can create either the party record first and then from the customers tab create the contact record using the quick create form, or we can create the contact directly from the normal entry in the sitemap using the usual form. When creating the contact for a customer, we should be able to set the is customer flag to yes. This will make the company field required. This type of contact where the company field is required and is populated is what we call a striped contact. Now, a contact customer will be typically a B2C customer. We also have a set of table maps introduced. So contact on the Dataverse side with the filter is customer yes, and customers V3 on the FNO side with the filter type person. Here we can see in the print screen on the left-hand side the contact form on the Dataverse system, and we can observe the is customer flag set to yes and the company populated. Then on the right-hand side, we can see the contact customer landing in FNO in the customers table and the type being person. If we want to create a vendor of type person, we also need to create a contact where we set the is vendor flag to yes. This will also make the company field mandatory. This is the second type of striped contact. So we can have either customers or vendors as striped contacts. Once the contact is saved, either with the is customer flag set to yes or is vendor set to yes, or both, these flags cannot be changed anymore, neither the company field cannot be updated anymore. It's good to mention that there are two vendor designs already available. The vendor data can be stored in the account or contact table, depending if the vendor is an organization or a person, respectively. And the data will be replicated from these tables to the vendor table. In order to do this data replication, you should be able to enable these vendor workflows that come with the DualWrite packages already. The second option is storing the vendors directly in the vendor entity. In the print screen here, we can see the vendor contact created in the contact entity, and then also the Dataverse vendor entity where the data was replicated. This is corresponding to the vendor design number 1. We also have a table map available with vendor in the Dataverse side with filter type equals person, and vendor v2 on the FNO side with the same filter. In the print screen, we can see on the left-hand side the contact record with the flag is vendor set to yes and the company field populated. And on the right-hand side, we can see the vendor record that has landed in FNO with the type person. With the party model and global address book solution, the existing contact form will therefore be used to create 4 types of records going forward. A sellable contact, aka B2C customer, that is a company striped record, a vendor person, which is a company striped record as well, and the combination of the two, a sellable contact as well as a vendor person, also company striped record. The 4 types of contact available is an unstriped contact. This contact is a row where the company field is left blank, and the flags is customer and is vendor are set to no. This is actually functionally we consider this to be a person, that is a contact person. The out of the box association, the relationship that we have between account and contact, reflected in the parent customer ID lookup available on the contact record, is now being replaced with the contact for customer or vendor entity. This entity will store and will handle the many-to-many relationship between customers and contacts. We will be able to associate contact persons for an account and assign a primary contact from the list of contact persons available. We'll also be able to associate contact persons for a striped contact that can be a customer, a vendor, or both. And similarly, assign a primary contact. When creating a contact for customer or vendor, only one of the fields, party ID, associated contact, associated account, and associated vendor, should have a value. Company is always a required field. If we choose company and party ID, then that contact person will be associated with all of the roles of the selected party in that company. For example, customer and vendor roles. Also, if we choose to associate the contact person with another contact, that contact has to be a striped contact. On the right-hand side corner, upper corner, we can see the table maps that are available. When a contact is created, as mentioned, a party record is created that will be synced with FNO with the CDS party table map corresponding. And then if a contact for customer or vendor record is created on the Dataverse side, that is synced with the corresponding table maps contacts v2 on the FNO side. The print screen here shows us how we can create for an account via the associated contacts tab a contact for customer or vendor association with this contact shown here, Alex Baker. There are 2 ways in which we can add a contact person to an account. We can either create the contact or open the form of an existing contact, navigate to the Associated Organizations tab that is available, and then use this tab to create one or more contact for party records. You also have the possibility to either use an existing account or also perform a quick create of the account. before creating the actual association. The second way to do it on the right hand side is by starting the flow from the account side. So we can either create an account or open the form of an existing account, navigate to the associated contacts tab that is available, and then from there either perform a quick create for the contact for party record, and we can either use an existing or create a new contact. The Global Address Book is a directory of postal and electronic addresses of the organizations and individuals that participate in a business. This concept is introduced now in Dataverse with the party model in Global Address Book solution. With the Global Address Book, we can store and handle as many postal addresses and electronic addresses as required. The addresses can be stored one time and then retrieved as they are required for quotes and orders. Depending on the business context, a person or an organization might play more than one role, and the same postal address and electronic address might be used for all of the roles. In this case, a change of address in one role would appear in all the other roles. This is the simplified entity relationship diagram for the global address book. The entities in orange background have not been provisioned yet except the address role entity. There are a series of plugins that maintain the associations between these entities and the synchronization. Particularly important are the customer address and the postal address fields. These are entities that actually contain the addresses, and these two entities are kept in sync with a series of plugins. With these new entities, we also have new table maps that are available and should be enabled in order to benefit from the full functionality. Also, new tabs are available on the account, contact, and vendor forms to be able to add multiple postal and electronic addresses. As mentioned, all the addresses are available at party level and they will be inherited by all party roles. In order to manage postal addresses, a new addresses tab has been introduced on the account, contact, and vendor pages. With this tab, we are able to manage and create multiple postal addresses by using a dedicated grid. The grid includes columns such as postal address roles, its primary, or address number. With the postal address roles, we are capturing the purpose of that particular postal address record. Before the April 2022 release, the role was a free text field, and the multiple roles had to be captured using the semicolon separator. This has now changed, and now the role on postal and electronic address is a multi-select control. For the its primary flag, this is a concept that is available in FNO. It has particular significance when talking about the electronic address. We will be covering that in a minute. For the account entity, when creating a new account, the address 1 and address 2 fields from the summary tab will correspond to two addresses created available in the addresses tab. These will have the default purpose, delivery, and invoice. For the contact entity, addresses 1, 2, and 3 from the summary tab upon creation will correspond to a pair of three addresses created as well, with the default purposes being business, invoice, and delivery. The synchronization between these addresses will be based on the address number. For managing electronic addresses, a new tab has been added on the account, contact, and vendor form. This tab supports multiple electronic addresses by using a grid that is embedded in a quick view that points to the party electronic address entity. Electronic addresses can be of different types, such as email, phone, fax, website, and more. The flag is primary, is used to sync the values to the respective account or contact fields. So for example, if we add for a contact an electronic address of type email with flag is primary set to yes, then that value will be synced to the contact email address 1. We can add as many electronic addresses as needed by using the button New Party Electronic Address that's available above the grid. We'll be able to see in action the creation of postal addresses and electronic addresses in the demo portion of the Tech Talk. This concludes for now the presentation of the data model in Dataverse after installing the party model and global address book solutions. Thank you.
Thanks, Corina. Let's move to the next topic, which is dual write setup and table maps. We will have a glance on the steps to set up party model and global address book solution. In order to set up the party model and global address book, you need to follow these steps, and first you need to install all prerequisite solution. In order to do that, you will have to identify all the required dual write application orchestration packages. For example, for the dual write party and global address book solution, it depends on the dual write application core, finance package, and supply chain packages. Therefore, you should install these packages as a prerequisite to install the dual write party and global address book solution package. As a next step, you need to install this global address book solution, and this is additive to dual write application orchestration solution. You have a link over here, so you can go through and see what are those steps to follow. Once you install this particular solution, then stop the CDS contacts V2 table maps because they are not required anymore. And then apply the latest version manually of the entity mappings which are updated for party functionality. You can see those mapping details in this doc link. And then before running these maps, you must review or update the integration keys, which is again a manual step, and you need to do it for account, contact for customer and vendors. So again, you have all these details in the docs link. Now you need to update and expand the duplicate deletion rules for the accounts and contact tables by setting up the specified fields which is mentioned in this doc link. And then last step is to run the table maps in the specified order. Please check the this doc link for the order and other details. With this, you have the party and global address setup completed. And here are some recommended out of box table maps which are used for global address book. You can add additional maps as per your business requirements, but this is the out of box recommendation. Please review the links provided in this slide so that you are able to understand that what are those mappings which is given out of box. Now let's move to the next agenda. Thanks everyone.
Hello everyone, my name is Puneet and I'm a developer in Party Gap Solution team. Today I'm going to talk about party data bootstrapping. So let's begin. Party data bootstrapping is all about transforming the data from pre-party data model to party data model. With the party gap solution, we introduce party concept in Dataverse. As a part of party solution, you may have seen there are some new entities that has been introduced, like party, postal address, and electronic address. So any of our existing customer who has been using the DualWrite will have their data in FNO and Dataverse environments. So for them to uptake the party gap solution, they need to transform their data from pre-party data model to party data model. There are many ways to do it. One of the ways is using the Azure Data Factory. Azure Data Factory provides a couple of connector. One of them is Dynamic CRM, which allows read and write to data into Dataverse. And the other one is a Dynamics AX, which allows only to read the data. It cannot write the data in Dynamics AX or FNO. So in order to overcome this problem, all the templates which we have designed for the party data bootstrapping generates CSV files, which allows to import the data back in FNO and or Dynamics AX. So let's talk about these template in details. So there are three templates which we have created. The very first one is the party template, which takes care of party and contact for party tables. The other one is the postal address, which takes care of all the addresses like delivery, invoice, on account and contact. And the third one is the electronic address, which takes care of the email address, telephone, and other electronic addresses. The party template is prerequisite to run the postal address or electronic address template, as the party should exist in the system before associating the postal address or electronic addresses. So let's deep dive into these templates individually. So the very first template is the party template. It creates party and contact for party records in Dataverse. And the way it does it, it brings all the party data from FNO and associate them with the account and contact. It also creates party records for account and contact which do not exist in FNO. For example, in Dataverse, the lead qualification process create account and contact which may not necessarily sync with FNO. Hence, we want to create those party records in both FNO and CR in Dataverse. Apart from creating the party records and associating with account and contact, it also generates the contact for party records by associating the contact person with account, contact, and vendor. At the end, it generates a CSV file to import all new party records in FNO. Let's move on to the party postal address template. The party postal address template creates all the postal addresses in Dataverse by pulling them from FNO. It also creates postal addresses for the account and contact which do not exist in FNO. Apart from creating the postal addresses in Dataverse, it also reconciles the customer addresses with postal addresses. And the way it does it, it compares the address attribute like street, state, country, and zip code. And wherever it finds a match, it updates the location ID in Dataverse. For any of the customer addresses which do not exist in FNO, it generates those postal addresses with the location ID which does not conflict with FNO. At the end, it generates some of the CSV file to import new postal addresses in FNO. Last but not the least, party electronic address. So the party electronic address template takes care of all the electronic addresses. And the way it does it, it brings all the electronic addresses from FNO and also create the electronic addresses for the account and contact which do not exist in FNO. As you know, that DualWrite does not sync the non-primary electronic addresses. And we do not want to lose any of the electronic addresses which exist in Dataverse and do not exist in FNO. So this template creates the electronic addresses for the non-primary electronic addresses as well. The way it does it by comparing the electronic addresses with the FNO one. So wherever it finds the matches with the electronic addresses in FNO, it updates the electronic address ID in Dataverse. For any of the new electronic addresses which do not exist in FNO, it generates a new electronic address ID which does not conflict with FNO. At the end, it generates a CSV file to import new electronic addresses in FNO. So that concludes the party data bootstrapping. Thank you, everyone. Let me hand over this to Koryana and Priyanka for the demo.
Hello again, everyone. So now for the demo portion of the Tech Talk, we'll be creating a records in Dataverse and FNO and observe how the data flows through these two systems. We will be creating accounts, contacts, contacts for accounts, those contact for party records, postal and electronic addresses, and we will also observe in action the global address book concept when creating a quote. Okay, so we are now in the Dataverse environment. Let's create a new account. Let's add an account number, name. I'm choosing this to be a customer. I'm using the out-of-the-box behavior when an account of type customer is synced to FNO. Add address as well, and country, and save. So because this is an environment where we have installed the party model and global address book solution, a couple of things will be happening. So first of all, a party record will be generated. Also, the address that we have added in address one uh, will be synced to a postal address visible in the addresses tab. Let's have a look at the party record that was generated. So the name is initially copied from the account. However, any name change at the party level will then be synchronized to all of the party roles. Because this is a party of type organization, the type of associated records we could add here in terms of customers will be accounts and also vendors of type organization. In the customers tab, we have the customer we have just created. We don't have any vendors yet. Postal address. Here we can see the global address book concept in action, whereby the address of the account is now visible also at the party level. No electronic addresses just yet, and neither associated contacts. So if we would have multiple customers or multiple vendors associated with this party, and these would have associated contact persons, all of those contact persons will be visible here in an aggregated view. Let's create now another customer for the same company, for the same party, but in a different company or legal entity. I'm going to be choosing DMF. Add an account number and choose customer group ID and leave the other fields empty. One small comment before opening the new customer. So the postal address, there's only one primary address at the party level. Okay, so this is a concept that is present in FNO, and we are mirroring here this logic as well in Dataverse. So going back to the customer that we have just created, we can see that it's associated with our party, and also we can see the address available also with this primary flag set to yes. Let's now go back to the party and do one more thing. Let's add a postal address, showcasing again the global address book concept. So say this is a business address. Let's add the purpose to the business. This is a change from our latest April 2022 release, whereby this control is now multi-select. It used to be free text. Let's choose US again. And save. So what will happen now is that this address will be synced to all of the other customers that are related to this party and also vendors. So if we open, let's open the one from DMF, we can see in the addresses tab those two addresses now available. Let's now move to FNO, to Priyanka, to see how the accounts look there, have a look in the global address book, and also have another look at the addresses. On to you, Priyanka.
Thanks, Corina. So let's check this new customer Lauren Corporation in FNO. We'll go to the global address book and we'll search on this particular customer. We can also directly go to the customer page on into the particular legal entity, but let's check first in global address book. So we see that we have this new party is created in FNO as well with the same party ID here 1086. Now let's check the details. So we are on the Lauren Corporation detail page here, and if you see we have all the details are synced from Dataverse. We do have those two addresses. One is delivery and one is business. Delivery is primary. So all these information are available in FNO, which were created or updated in Dataverse. Now, if we see the roles, we have these two roles created for same customer in two different companies in USMF and DEMF. Let's go to the any one of customer in any companies. Let's go to the USMF. So if you see, we are in USMF and the customer is Lauren Corporation. We have all those details here. We do have the addresses over here, but we do not have any contact information at this stage. So let us create a new contact for this particular customer. We'll give any name. Let's give Amy and Amy Thomas. So for now, I'm not giving all the information for demo purpose, but all the required information can be given over here. Now we have this new contact Amy Thomas created for customer Lauren Corporation. And if you see, there's a delivery address defaulted from the customer Lauren Corporation. If required, we can add additional addresses or contact information. But for now, we will see how this contact is created in Dataverse. Over to you, Corina.
Great, thank you for that, Priyanka. So we are back in Dataverse. Let's find the contact for customer Priyanka has created and let's inspect its values. And then let's also create a contact for customer in Dataverse. So we can do this in a different ways. We can either search for the contact from the directly from the organization, so from the account entity, or from the contacts entry, or even from the party. So I'll choose to start from the party. Just gonna open the party form. The customers tab, we can find the two customers we have just created before. I'm going to open the account in company USMF and then inspect the associated contacts tab. So this is where I was expecting the contact for customer to land. We can see that the entry is available here. Before we look at the actual contact, let's choose a primary contact. So this is now a lookup to the contact for customer or vendor entity. So contact for customer, contact for party are different names for the same entity. And let's save this primary contact. Next, let's open the contact for party entity. So this is the association entity. Here we can find fields that describe the association between a contact person and an organization in the context of a company, of a legal entity. In the employment tab, we can find information such as job title, function, profession, and miscellaneous details, fields such as salutation, and more. These fields are synced from Dataverse to FNO with a dedicated table map with the data source from the Dataverse side, the entity contact for customer or vendor. Okay, let's open now the contact that's part of this association. So this is an unstriped contact, right? It is a contact person. A party was generated. You can see the address field populated and then the corresponding postal address as well available in the addresses tab. And then in the associated organizations tab, we can see the contact for customer or vendor with the same information we would see from the account side. Let's now go back to the party record and add a customer for a contact for customer or vendor record. So let's choose this time the company DMF, and I could choose from one of the existing unstriped contacts, or create a new one. Let's create a new one. This will be an unstriped contact because this is a contact person. So these two flags, this customer and his vendor, will remain with value no. Don't worry about clearing out the company field. It gets cleared out automatically by the platform, considering the values of these two flags. Then let's put an email here. Let's add an address. And save. Now with this action, we are only creating the contact because it is an unstriped contact. The company will be cleared out. A party record will be generated for this contact, and the details of the party will be synced to FNO to the global address book. Now, with this second action, we want to create the contact for customer or vendor. So we are choosing to associate the newly created contact Carla Green with the party 1086 in the MF company. So we are associating this contact with all of the party roles within this legal entity DMF. And we can choose other information such as department, profession, job title for this association and save. Now, because the only role that our party had in the MF company is the second customer, okay, so it's a second customer in the MF company, this is where we expect to see this associated contact in the respective tab. So if we open the account in the DMF company and we inspect the associated contacts tab, we can see here the association available. Let's open the contact that we have just created and look at the electronic addresses now, because if you remember, we choose to add an email address. So for this email address, an electronic address has been automatically created. We have here the option to add multiple electronic addresses of type email. So for the multiple addresses that we want to manage for this contact, let's add a phone number as an electronic address. And let's set it as primary and choose a purpose as well. So only if it's set as primary does the value get synced to the actual fields of the contact, those fields that are visible in the details tab. So now if we just refresh the form, we will be able to see in the details tab the a phone number got populated. Okay, let's now continue the flow on the FNO side. Let's observe how these contacts landed there and add a couple more addresses. On to you, Priyanka.
Okay, so let's move to FNO. A few minutes back, there was a new contact, Amy James, created in FNO in USMF company, and just now Corina created a new contact, Carla Green, in DMF company. So let's check how it is synced to FNO. We are on Lauren Corporation customer page in DMF company. Let's check the contact. Right, so we have Carla Green created here for the customer Lauren Corporation in DMF, and we will go to the details of Carla Greens, and we see that all the details are available here, and we do have two addresses. One is business and delivery. Business is primary over here, and then we have two contact information, primary email address and business phone number also created here, which were just created in Dataverse. Now let's create another uh, contact, which is alternate email address, as a person can have multiple email address. One is primary and another could be alternate. So let's add one more email address. Will this will give this as a alternate email and will not make it primary because we already have a primary email address for Carla. Now we have a new alternate email address created for Carla Green, and we already have a primary email address. So let's go back to customer screen, which is Lauren Corporation. And if we see, there are two addresses for this customer. One is delivery and one is business. Delivery is primary, but we do not have any invoice address as of now for this particular customer. So let us create a new invoice address. Invoice address, and the purpose should be invoice. Let's select any zip code. And we are not making this primary because we already have one primary address, which is delivery for this particular customer. So we do not make the invoice address as primary. Now we have the invoice address created for Lauren Corporation. Let's now see how it is created in Dataverse.
Okay, thank you, Priyanka. So back to Dataverse, we can see in the Postal Addresses tab the address that Priyanka has just created with the purpose invoice. Let's now observe the global address book concept in action by creating a quote, but for the company USMF, for the same customer we've been working with so far, Lauren Corporation. And if we look at the addresses section, so the bill to address, this is a lookup to the postal addresses entity. This pre-filters the addresses with purpose invoice. So the if we look at the party, the only address with purpose invoice available is this one that Priyanka just created, which is available here as well for selection. Upon selection, the fields are populated accordingly. And in terms of the ship to address, this filters on the purpose being delivery. And again, the fields are pre-populated. Let's also give this quote a name. And save. And the quote is saved in FNO. With this, we are concluding the demo portion of the Tech Talk. So we have seen how we can create account, contacts. We had a look at the party, at the contact for party. We added postal and electronic addresses, and we also observed the global address book concept in action on quotes. Similar behavior is expected on orders. Thank you.
So we are done with the demo and we'll move to the last topic where we are going to quickly talk about implementation scenarios.